and welcome to, for once, a live Let's Play. I know the last one was like DMC5, but this is a special case because this is Castlevania, and I have a lot of time for Castlevania, and it's kind of surprising to me that it's taken me this long to cover one, but I thought what better one to start on than my second favourite Vania in the series, Aria of Sorrow, for the Game Boy Advance. And despite that, you kind of forget it's on the GBA a lot of the time. I sure as shit do every time I play it, just because of how high quality it is. I'll call myself Bean, because why not? I don't think it affects anything like some other Vanias do, where your name like affects RNG. So I'll just call myself Bean for the love of it. Crowds of spectators are gathering around in anticipation of the first full solar eclipse of the 21st century. My name is Soma Cruz, and I'm a high school exchange student studying abroad in Japan. I live near the Hakuba Shrine, an ancient shrine with strong ties to Japanese mythology. Mina Hakuba, the only daughter of the shrine's caretaker, is both my classmate and my childhood friend. I started making my way to the shrine to see the solar eclipse of Mina, but for some strange reason, the stairway leading up to the shrine felt longer than usual, as if something was trying to keep us from our destination. When I finally managed to get through the shrine gate, and my senses began to dim. The pitch-black sun is holding chaotic darkness together, trying to rouse a sleeping soul as if it is looking for its missing other half. That last paragraph is basically a hint towards the entire plotline of this game. But yeah, this Vania is based in the future. This and its direct sequel, Dawn, are the only ones based in the future. All the rest aren't. They're based anywhere between the Crusades to the 1900s. As we just wake up in the castle. Hey, looks like he's coming too. Where am I? Whoa! What happened? So you've decided to join us. Did you have a pleasant nap? Huh? Who the heck are you? It's okay, Soma. His name is Genya Arikado. Skip the introductions. I have a few questions and I need answers now. Go ahead. Why have you come here? Why? Well, Mina and I... Hang on, where are we? We're in Dracula's castle. Dracula's castle? You're telling me we're in Europe? No, we are inside the solar eclipse. Inside the eclipse? You're insane. Do you think I'm a fool? Sona, listen to him. He's telling you the truth. What the heck are you talking about? Give me an explanation. Well, it's like this. An enemy. Enemy, Arikado? You mean enemy? Oh, Mina, why did Mina get hurt? Damn, protect the girl. Ah, go back to where you came from. What was that thing? So it has awakened. What? What has? The spirit of the creature you killed has just entered your body. You have the power to absorb the abilities of the monsters you killed. Why? Why would I have that power? You have gained the power. You must now go to the Master's Chamber. For what reason? Do you not wish to return to with your friend to your own world? Of course I want to go back. Go to the Master's Chamber, then you will understand everything. But I can't just leave Mina here like this. No need to worry about her. I've put up a protective barrier. But death will most certainly find those who stay here too long. Yes, only you can save her from a painful death. And you, what will you do? I too have things I must do within these castle walls. Go, set forth, both your own life and hers are at stake. And that's our very snappy to the point introduction to Aria of Sorrow and how it works. Every time you kill an enemy, there is a chance it will drop its soul, and I mean every single enemy. Even these basic zombies will drop their soul, which grant you special abilities that you can equip to do various things. The game as a whole is actually pretty easy for a lot of Vanias. It's not the easiest. If you want to talk about which one I think is the easiest of the Metroidvania saga in particular, I would lean you towards Harmony of Dissonance, which is another one I might cover at some point, but I'm going to level with you. I don't like Harmony of Dissonance that much. It's alright, but I found it kind of underwhelming compared to the other GBA Vanias. And I'm including Circle of the Moon when I say that. But it's the basic gist of it. The way any Metroidvania works, if you haven't like seen the more... Oh, right, that's nice. I'm glad I got bats. I know bats kind of a high drop, but that's really nice to have just to deal with some underwater creatures early on. Like these guys down here, the mermen. But the way Metroidvanias go is that although they are vaguely linear in terms of progression, you're usually pretty open to run around and explore different rooms yourself. with the idea being that you'll like explore a zone out, eventually stumble upon a boss or something, or a gimmick or a special item that will then give you an ability to allow you to progress to a different zone. It's just, it doesn't hold your hand, you have to work it out a lot of it yourself. Some of it's obvious, and like so Aria of Sorrow, if I'm honest, if you've never played a Metroidvania, Aria of Sorrow is pretty a good starting point. This game is, outside of like one little puzzle which might catch you off guard, which is later on, I'd say this game is really good at letting you figure it out, but never being too complicated. It's not like Symphony of the Night, where as much as Symphony of the Night's my favourite one, if it's your very, very first Metroidvania, good fucking luck working out how to get the true ending for yourself. Those doors, these blue doors here, always signify a boss fight. So yeah, we do get one very early on in this, but the early bosses in this game, none of them are difficult. The only reason I'm coming up here is because I want to hope... No, you didn't get it, damn it. That the Skull Archer has a chance... Every enemy has a chance to drop their soul. The Skull Archer's soul, if you get it, genuinely turns this first boss fight into a complete joke, because you can kill it from the door. Because yeah, every single soul, like I said, has an ability tied to it. The Skull Archers, they give you archery, basically. But there goes the first boss. The first boss is not a threat to you. You're going to see me... I'm going to practice it a little bit as we move, but you're going to see me do this all the time, which is every time I go to swing, I jump first. That's because if you swing your weapon when you're on the ground, Soma will cut his momentum. He will stand still to attack. But if you're in the air, you carry on moving, so you can attack while still moving. It's not like some glitch or fancy things like that. No, it's a built-in technique into the game that's like an advanced thing you have to learn how to do. If you can stay airborne with your attack, you can keep mobility. But what also stands out with it, and this only... Oh, that's nice to have, Peeping Eye. I'll chuck that on for now, since I've got nothing else in the yellow slot. But the main thing about it, that the game doesn't tell you about, but you'll soon figure out, is your attack animation with light weapons, it doesn't work with heavy weapons, will end the very second you touch the ground. Like, Soma will reset his position when you touch the ground. So if you get a good rhythm going, you can genuinely double tap attacks. Because you attack just before you touch the ground, Soma will swing the sword out, but when the moment he touches the ground, he will reset in a single frame back to his default stance, allowing you to attack again. Over here is winged armor, which is your first like travel ability, which is tied to a soul, but that's not the end of the world. Like, there are some that aren't tied to souls that are more natural abilities that you can use whenever, but some are tied to souls, and they're never a problem, thankfully. Like, I always like feared the idea of progression abilities being tied to souls being kind of annoying, but it really isn't in this game, because you're gonna get other means of traveling around soon. The only thing with the technique of like jump slashing all the time is that occasionally you're gonna see me just miss an enemy like 3 times in a row that I wouldn't if I just didn't fucking jump. Because it gets so built into you. Once you know how to do it, it becomes like riding a bike, but it also becomes like an addiction or a like muscle memory thing. You will just do it without thought. Like, I know I do. Like, I don't think I've ever not jumped before I attack once I've learned how to do it way back in the Symphony of the Night days. It's not this smooth and this nice to control in every single Metroidvania, in every single Egavania to be more precise, every single Castlevania after the classics. But Symphony, Aria, and the DS games, I'd say they work pretty well for the most part. It's only really Circle of the Moon and Harmony of Dissonance that I find it kind of more awkward. And I know a lot of it isn't their fault, they were still trying to get their bearings with the GBA and how it works. Even if I do have problems with Harmony of Dissonance, because like, and I won't get into it too much, because I know a lot of people really like Harmony of Dissonance, and I can see why. I just think I got off on the wrong foot with it, and it ended up like hurting the rest of my experience. Because if you've been with this channel for a while, you know I love music in video games. I have a deep respect for video game composers, video game music, how it comes together and how it's built. So finding out that Harmony of Dissonance sacrificed its sound chip to make more visual quality for it immediately put me on the wrong foot for it, because I think it's the worst looking Game Boy Advance Castlevania. In fact, outside of the 8-bit games, I think it's the worst looking Vania period. And it's like, well, it looks worse than Circle of the Moon, you know, the game that didn't sacrifice its sound chip to make the visuals better. I genuinely think Harmony and Dissonance looks ugly as sin. Because it's like the colours clash all the time. Some of it hurts my eyes. And it's one of the very, very few games to give me a fucking headache. So, you know, but there's a scarf over here, so make sure to nab that whilst you're here. There was also an accessory we could have picked up, a pendant, back in the opening room of the entrance hall, but we get better stuff so soon afterwards that there's no point, especially because we're going to be coming back to that area much later on. But that there is a good example of what I mean. Look how quickly I got to attack there. Because not only did I reset by touching the ground, I jumped again to make it a pattern. So I was, throughout the entirety of that, attacking far quicker than intended. Like I say, it's intentional for you to learn how to do that. Whilst compared to that when I'm standing. You see what I mean? Also, that throwing spear, that's the soul that you get from that little tutorial in the opening scene introducing you to soul stealing. The odds of enemies dropping their soul varies from enemy to enemy, and I'm going to warn you right now, if you're going for true 100%, firstly, there's one soul that's straight up missable, and I'll mention that properly when we get there, but outside of it, you're in for the long haul for a lot of them. Because some of them have hellishly low odds, and some of those hellishly low odds are also in enemies that don't die in one hit, you know? And ones that are a bit bulkier and take a bit more work to get, so you can be at it for like half an hour to get them. And that's if you're lucky. Which, speaking of luck, I should actually talk about the stats in this game. Everything is broken down into set stats, because this is an RPG as well. You might have noticed we leveled up earlier. We have our health in the top left, which is broken down in both the red bar and a hard number, which is something that was a carryover from Symphony of the Night, and that I definitely appreciate, having a number for health instead of just a bar. The green bar under it's our magic bar, which is tied to all the enemy soul stuff we do. Any red or blue soul action we do will spend magic, which, to speak of, red soul is treated as a sub-weapon. Which, if you don't know what I'm talking about, in any Castlevania, sub-weapons are used by pressing up and attack. I'll use it right now on this thing. Like that. Well, I missed, but shut up. The next are blue souls, which blue souls are tied to the R button. So you're on Game Boy Advance. Oh, sweet, I got throw bones. That's fucking great to have, actually. That's a good early game boss killer. But blue souls are tied to R, and then yellow are passives. So there might be like boost X stat, or make you immune to X status condition, things like that. Or we got Peeping Eye earlier. Peeping Eye is will show you breakable walls, because there are secret breakable walls throughout this game. I know where all of them are, but it doesn't mean all of them are worth going to. Just putting that out there. But anyway, stats. You have strength, concentration, intelligence, and luck. Strength is just your physical damage dealing. Intelligence, to skip concentration for a second, is all magic damage dealing. So if you're going for magic builds, you're going to obviously lean more into that. If you're going for strength builds, you're going to lean more into... You know what I mean. If you've played any RPG, you know what I'm talking about. You can alter it. Your stat level up is pretty standard, but you can alter your stats through equipment and certain souls that you can pick up as time goes on. So you can lean into a particular build if you so want to. But I'm going to level with you, despite the enemy souls in this game, going strength scaling is a very reasonable stat in this game. There are some games where magic completely breaks it, and some games where strength completely breaks it. But in this game, despite being good spells, strength is pretty, strong. I know that sounds dumb, but you know what I mean. Like, physical attacks in this game can be pretty beefy if you know how to handle them. Especially with the techniques I've mentioned earlier in the video, where you can whip out attacks far quicker than intended. That doesn't mean magic is any slouch, though. If you get disc armor, you're set for life. Or, I think Valkyrie. Valkyrie's another good one, because that's got ties to holy magic. That's another really good one if you're going for a magic build to just rip out high damage. I'd say disc armor I probably prefer, just because you can rip that out super quick. Like, it's very snappy to use and does decent damage, but there are really good ones there as well. Like, Flame Demon's another really good one because it's got so much range. Flame Demon will actually be picking up on the path as we go through it, because it's mandatory, which is something else I need to talk about. There are certain souls in this game you are gonna want to go out of your way to grind for, regardless of whether or not you're interested in getting all the souls or not. There's a couple that I would just highly recommend. One being Curly. which we'll get to later. Oh, we got a cutscene. I'll get back to that. Oh, hello there. Hello. You're human, aren't you? Relax, my name is Graham. Let's just say I'm a missionary. Oh, I'm Soma Cruz. You weren't here in the shrine before, were you? How did you get here? I'm not sure. I went through the shrine gate and boom, I was here. I see. Can I ask you a question? Go ahead, I don't mind. Is it true that this is Dracula's castle? It most certainly is. But isn't Dracula's castle in Europe somewhere? In theory, yes, but the true castle exists somewhere else. Is true castle? Yes, it is a well-known fact in the underworld. Do you believe in vampires? Well, no. I thought the story of Dracula was made up, actually. No, it's all true. It was leaked to the outside world. Usually, the church handles these things with utmost secrecy. Over the course of time, Dracula was resurrected many times, when people lost faith and craved chaos and destruction. So, are you trying to tell me now that Dracula's been resurrected? No, Dracula perished in 1999. You know of the prophecy of 1999, don't you? Nostradamus' great prophecy. That's right, Dracula was resurrected exactly as he predicted. But vampire hunters destroyed him completely. They ended his regeneration cycle by sealing his castle, the symbol of his demonic power, inside the darkness of an eclipse. And that eclipse is where we are now. Yes, but there's still more to the story. There's more? In the year 2035, a new master will come to the castle and he will inherit all of Dracula's powers. But that's... Yes, the time is now. I better get going. Is that all then? Oh, yes, thank you. Farewell, and be careful. Yes, you too. Yeah, we're gonna meet a lot of little faces as we go through the early game, introduced to most of the cast. There are a lot of other people wandering this castle. It's not like Symphony of the Night, where it's like you and Maria, and that's it. Like, you know, like there are a fair number of people waddling around the castle that we'll be introduced to as time goes on. But yeah, back to my point. Curly is a demon you're gonna want to get, because it leads to an optional area in the game that has an almightily good weapon in it that I'm going to be beelining for as soon as I can. I'm just going to level you right now. Once I'm in a position to go to that area and get that weapon, I'm going for it. Ooh, there's another one, Killer Mantle. You don't have to get it, but I want to get it just to show you how you're intended to kill a particular enemy in the late game. There's a particular enemy in the late game that has like 9,999 concentration, which is... I never got back to that. That's a defense stat. Concentration is defense. Anyway. It has 9,999 concentration, and it has 9,999 health. So no matter what you do, you're only hitting it for 1 HP. But the Killer Mantle is the ticket to killing it properly. Or killing it quickly. So I'll be getting it just to show that off. But the other three that I'm going to be going for are mandatory to actually get the true ending of the game. As we go through the game, there's going to be books that we're going to find, that we're going to pick up, that are going to hint at what you need to do when you reach the quote-unquote final boss to actually get the true ending path and unlock the true final area. Those three, just to jump the gun, those three can all be gotten in the same area. So don't stress about it right now. It's very easy to grind them up, and I will be bringing up what they are and how they work when we get to them, and how they're hinted at through those books. Because there are 3 books, each book hinting at each one you need to have for the final fight. You can get the true ending without ever picking up the books if you know in advance what those 3 demons are. If you know what those 3 souls you need are, you can absolutely do it without. The books are just there to hint at you of what you're supposed to do. I don't really know what I'm doing in this area, if I'm honest. I'm just kind of waddling around. I want to get over here to jump over the wall, because there's a weapon that's really shit, to be fair. The bamboo sword is only good because it's your first, like, swinging weapon, I think it's the best way to put it, instead of a stabbing weapon. And this isn't Terraria. For the most part, stabbing weapons are better than swinging weapons. There's only one major exception, which is actually the super weapon I was talking about earlier that I will be gunning for. There are also hard mode specific weapons, which I won't be showcasing since this is a normal playthrough, but I will point out where one of them is when we get there, because it's the one that most people will try and get because of how good it is. Which is you can actually pick up Death, as in like, you know, the Grim Reaper, Death's Scythe in hard mode. I love the Giant Ghost. The Giant, this thing is back from Harmony of Dissonance, and I think it's just a really cool enemy. Even though it's really simple, it's a giant fire ghost skull. Like, it's like really basic. I just like it. I'm easily entertained sometimes. Oh, and something else, and it is something that isn't, I don't say it's too much of a detriment to the GBA games, but it is something that might catch you off guard. It's not always the easiest to work out what's in the background and what's in the foreground, like what you can stand on, what isn't. Like, if it's a drawn thing, it's background, whilst if it's made, as in like sprite based, it's usually foreground. But there are outliers to this rule. Like you saw in that previous room when I was jumping on like the bits popping out from the pillars. They were still part of the aesthetic, yet they'd been given physical properties. So you could be fooled into thinking they were entirely background until you touched them. But down here is the rapier, and I'm going to actually, very quickly, if you're speedrunning, there you go. It's that easy to actually get it. You don't have to go around. There is a number of enemies that don't have active hurt boxes on them when they are wandering around. The bone guys are one of them. The skulls. The skulls that shoot at you. There's two variants. There's like a grounded variant and there's a fish variant that we'll get to later on. Both of them don't have hurt boxes on their tops. They do on their sides, so if you run into them it will hurt you, but you can stand on them and it won't hurt you. So you can use that for your advantage to get to this sword quicker than you might have thought you could. Instead of having to go all the way around, you can literally just jump up, round, get it, and be on your way. Which is something that I don't do speedrunning in Metroidvanias. It's not my thing per se. But I love watching Metroidvania speedruns, and I love picking up little trinkets and tricks from speedruns or things you can do in the game. I am very happy I got that. That was the only reason why I came back to this room for a second, is I wanted to see if I could get that soul, because that boosts strength by 4 points, which will just make the next boss fight that bit quicker. I'm so happy I got that, because I was only going to give it that one, because I don't want to waste time. Ow. But we're actually doing pretty well on souls right this second. On my practice run, like before I started recording, I had abysmal luck with souls. I literally got to this fight, when I can speak with my intended accent, and the Matacore, and I had like no souls on me, and it made the fight a lot more annoying. The Matacore only has 2 real attacks. I didn't even talk about the Crawling Skull, the first boss, because it's just such a joke. But this fight only has 2 real attacks. It will either shoot fireballs at you, which depending on how many it shoots at you, depends on if one hits you. It will stop if one hits you, but if not, it will do 3. The other one is that it will try and jab you with its tail. The tail will poison you. Poison doesn't do what you'll probably think it does. Poison doesn't health drain. Poison halves your attack, which is why I'm doing far less damage now. And you see, as soon as the poison ended, I did 25 again. Making poison brutal to you, but in an entirely different way. Every time you kill a boss soul will drop, and that's not the actual enemy's soul. At least we didn't get the Matacore's soul when we killed it. It has a chance of dropping it, but we didn't get it, unfortunately. Which doesn't mean we've lost for good. Matacore is going to become a standard enemy, in the same way the Crawling Skull we fought earlier will become a standard enemy much later on. So you'll be able to get those souls still. Can I get up? Thank you. So you'll still be able to get them in like much later in the game, just not right now. And the last stat, since I still haven't spoken about it, is luck. I'm going to level with you right now. You're going to see me put a lot of points into luck, but I am adamant it means nothing. I genuinely feel like luck is a pointless stat in this game, because it never feels like it alters drops. Because enemies have standard drops as well. It's not just that their souls are up for grabs. They have a common drop and a rare drop. Well, most enemies have a common and a rare drop. Some don't. Some only have 1 drop. And the point of luck is that it's supposed to affect how often those drops even happen. So the higher your luck, the more likely that shit drops. But I have gone for like full-on luck runs and really never noticed a difference. And I think it's more felt when it comes to actually trying to get enemy souls. Because it genuinely feels like even if the luck stat does work, it doesn't affect the enemy souls, it feels like. And I know that's probably not accurate, it probably does, it's just so barely it's not noticeable. But it genuinely feels like luck's pointless. I just put points into luck and try and use luck-based equipment as we go, just so then I feel a bit better about myself trying to get rare drops and whatnot, that I feel like something's happening as we break into the study. This game isn't particularly long. If you're watching along, it's like, yeah, we are in the 3rd zone already. But there's later on in the game, the zones get a lot bigger, so that is going to change. The only reason why the zones are kind of short in early game is because it knows we don't have that many field abilities right now. So making the zones way too long would only work against it, because there'd only be so much you'd be able to do to explore it. Like, we don't have the ability to slide, we don't have a double jump, we can't make ourselves smaller and move through like tiny gaps or anything like that. Let's pick up the bastard sword, which is a great weapon for this stage in the game. Is why I've like detoured for it, because it's just a really nice sword to have. You can't go any further on this route though, because you can see we need double jump to make that extra gap there. Or at least something to extend our height. But a lot of abilities you'll get from bosses after this point are going to be those kinds of field abilities, just for the record. The only real exception I always felt is the Manticore, because the Manticore feels like it's there just to be an obstacle in between the zones. And technically the Crawling Skull as well, but I always kind of associate the Crawling Skull as blocking off the what's it called already? The Flying Demon, the one that lets you glide. The one that we got from like the sewers, like straight after it. Like, I always kind of at least associate that boss with that. But from this point onwards, every boss is going to be guarding a ability or soul or power-up that's going to help us progress. There's a puzzle in this room as well involving this box, but come back to it later with the double jump, because even if you push the box around, it'll be just out of reach for both this and the platform down below. This one here. You're also seeing that we're going to be picking up money as we go through. Like, I just picked up $10 there. There is a shop later in the game, but I'm going to be honest with you, I never buy any of the weapons from the shop. I'll buy one armor set because it has the war fatigues, which boost your attack as well as defense, so they're nice to have. But most of the time I only spend my money on potions. It's rare I spend it on anything else. Because yeah, potions are a thing in this game to get a free restore on health. Because although I don't say, as I said before, this isn't a particularly hard Vania, it's still a Vania, and it will still wipe you out. And if this footage is anything to go by, I know it's also because I'm talking, so my concentration isn't 100% there in the same vein it would be if I was playing silently. But I'm a very reckless Metroidvania player. But it's how I always enjoy playing it. I love being off the cuff and off the wall and learning how enemies work and being super hyper aggressive, because if you can get away with it, it feels more satisfying to me to be super aggressive and get away with it. Here's the Melon Room, I always call it. I don't understand why this room exists, because the melon is a drop later on. So it's like, okay, thanks. But it is a good healing item, I suppose. And there's a soul later on that I never use, that will make it so if you use food instead of potions, it will heal more. And will also make it so rotten foods will heal you as well, because you can pick up rotten food, but if you eat any rotten food without that soul on, it will harm you instead of healing you. In fact, I think rotten meat straight up puts your HP to 1 if you eat it. Which I suppose is fun for a challenge run, I guess. Down here is actually the first book I was on about, the 3 books you will need to figure out the puzzle to get the true ending, but we can't get it right now because we don't have slide, which I genuinely don't understand why after Circle of the Moon slide is a power up you have to get, because Circle of the Moon is in your default kit. Hey, you're Soma, aren't you? You must be him. Yes, but who are you? Oh, forgive me, I am Yoko Belnades. I'm a member of the church. How would a member of the church recognize me? You've met Genya Arikado, right? I did meet him, but he told me about you and asked me to help you if you were in trouble. Arikado said that? That's hard to believe. Well, he may seem cold at first, but he's actually quite a decent guy. He may be looking out for you because you share the same dark powers. Wait, did you say my powers are dark? Oh, you mean you didn't know that? Oh no, did I say something well, what's said is said. Essentially, you have the power to rule over and command monsters. Rule over monsters? I have no desire to do that. It comes as naturally as breathing for you, so you may not realise it yet. And though I called it a dark power, that doesn't mean it's evil. It's like a weapon. It's the user decides whether to use it for good or evil. Well, when you put it that way, I feel a little better. Since I got this power, I've begun to lose my sense of self. You are yourself. There's no one else you could be. Don't second guess yourself. Be confident. That's most important. I think I understand now. Thanks, Yoko. I'm not used to being thanked by people. Oh, I forgot to ask you. Have you seen a man named Graham? Graham? Yeah, I met him earlier. Be wary of that man. I believe that he will inherit Dracula's powers. No way! He did not look like a bad guy. Right, well, I've got a bridge to sell you. Don't be fooled by his appearance. He's not who you think he is. Alright. Well, I must be going. I've got to find Graham. See you around. I like Yoko. Yoko's a pretty fun character in this. I think she gets, like, more so because she gets more screen time, but I think she gets better in Dawn. But I think Yoko is a great character. Yoko Belnadez, which you might recognize that last name if you've watched the anime. Yeah, she's a descendant of the Belnadez clan. That doesn't mean she's a direct descendant of Cypher, because that wouldn't... Oh, actually, maybe? No, I don't think that would make sense. I think, like, in terms of, like, chronologically, I think it is just a clan name that she has it, not, like, family name. Because she's a descendant of Cypher, that means she's also a descendant of Trevor. But the Belmont clan is a descendant of Trevor. And there's a Belmont in this game to jump the gun a little, so that doesn't make sense. You know? So I think it is just, like, a clan name that's carried. Here's also the Whip Sword, which does as much damage as the Bastard Sword, and to be honest, it's slightly slower, and for that reason alone, I will keep the Bastard Sword. Because I know I do the jump cancelling tech all the time anyway, but still, I want fast... If I've got an option between longer range and quicker swipes, I'm going to take the quicker swipes usually, unless the range is really abysmal. You're not going to see me use daggers. After you start the game with a dagger, that's the last time you'll see me use it, because they're way too short for my likes. In the same way you won't see me using fist or gauntlet weapons. But here's our next boss, the Great Armor. Yet another boss that will become a normal enemy later on, so don't worry about it too much. Just be careful because it has a active hurt box, and it hurts quite a bit if it hits you. But there's a sweet spot right in front of it where if you crouch, you'll never be hit by the sword. So if you can keep in that sweet spot, you're good. You just got to be worried that the shields, the hitbox counts the shield on front of it, and the shield is slightly more bumped further ahead than its feet. So sometimes you can crouch down to get that sweet spot. It'll take a step forward, and when you stand up, you'll stand into the shield hurt box and take damage for it. Oh, what's a child like yourself doing in a place like this? A child? You're rude, Grandpa. Oh, my apologies. My name's Hammer. The army ordered me to come here. Hi, I'm Soma. I thought I was inspecting a shrine, but suddenly I was in a castle. Don't you think that's a mean thing to do to a guy? So I just bailed on my mission. What do you mean? There was a bunch of strange people gathered at the shrine. I thought they'd be good customers, so I opened up a shop. Oh, good for you. There's weapons all over the castle and no monsters at the front gate. Good place for a shop, so come on by. I'll give you a good deal. See you around. And that's Hammer. Weird dude. A shop, huh? I don't get it. But the real treat over here is that we can get double jump now. We've picked up Malthus. So we can now double jump. Yay! It does just redo the jump animation, and I'm going to be honest, as much as I know I keep bringing up Dawn, but I kind of unironically love Dawn's derpy as hell double jump animation. Because they kind of borrowed the space jump from Metroid and make it that Soma does a little spin when he jumps, and I genuinely kind of love it. But he does it makes it feel more like a unique jump because it's not just a reused jump animation. But I'm gonna wrap it up here, and we will probably go visit Hammer's shop next time because now we got the double jump. There's more areas for you to explore in the castle, and it's opened up a little bit more. So next time on Castlevania, we'll do exactly that. Find out where we can go. But until then, you guys take care now. Peace.